Good morning, everybody. I hope you had a great weekend. It was a wet one here in Wichita. Delayed some more projects in the yard. Um, as of before the rains came yesterday, we had 10.6 inches of rain so far in the month of May, and most of it's been the last couple of weeks. The drought has been cured, assuming we get regular amounts of rain here on out, and we are in a wet pattern if El Nino stays kicked in. And what it does is it splits the jet, and you've got a pretty strong southern jet that comes across the southern states that keeps lows moving from west to east, that catches the moisture out of the Gulf and drops it over land. So Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas have been pretty dry, and the drought so far is cured. Down in Texas and Oklahoma, they've gotten 20 plus inches of rain and even more yesterday. The heavy rains are to the south of us and creating major flooding. So I'm always amazed at how we think that we can control Mother Nature. I mean, we can't predict the weather a week out, yet we're going to control Mother Nature no matter what it throws at us. You can't. It's just too big, too powerful. We can cope with it, but we can't control it. So we came into this weekend with Yellen's speech on Friday, where she said interest rates can be increased this year. She thinks that the economy's got enough slack to absorb an interest rate increase. Over the weekend, Fisher and Mayer from the Fed talked about increasing interest rates also, and our market rallies over the weekend. I put an article into the room talking about when the Fed says they'll raise interest rates and when the market says they'll raise interest rates. And right now the market is saying no interest rate increase until 2016, if then. A lot of it is dependent upon what the economy is able to do, and I certainly hope that it grows. So we have equities in China. We're up. China's stock market is up 100% for the year, and that came after two stocks just got clobbered on Friday in Hong Kong. I used to have, when I was a broker, I used to have several Asian, Chinese traders, and I mean they are just off the walls when it comes to taking risk, and they love to gamble, they love to do the rest of it. The stories I used to hear, and one fellow had to go into the hospital for an emergency operation, and in the recovery room, and his wife didn't want him to do it. He picks up the phone and he calls me when he's barely lucid. You can hear the wife in the background, give me the telephone, stop that, etc. So it doesn't surprise me that if China is not gambling, that they've turned their interest towards the stock market, and that it can rise as fast as it has and as far as it has. It's just kind of, I guess it's part of their culture, the way that they look at it. So if we take a look at everything that we're looking at on the screen, we're dealing with a P, and you can see that volume is trying to move up, and if we can create and build volume above 18, the 16 to 18 area today, the market can trade higher. We've got resistance at 24 to 28, and we have a lot of news this morning. So we've got durable orders minus 0.6, X transportation plus 0.4, and that will be the major news focus of the day. We've got FHFA. The real estate markets have been that's an H, showing a lot of expansion in price. In fact, they say sales have been hurt because prices have risen so rapidly. Case-Shiller plus 0.9. Those probably can come in at those levels. PMI services. Nobody pays a lot of attention to it, but in lieu of other news, it'll serve as a gauge. 56.5. That number could come in higher than forecast. The PMI numbers have, the ISM numbers have been coming in lower than the forecast. New home sales, 509,000. This number is really massaged. But the housing numbers of late have been coming in a little bit stronger than forecast. The second big news focus, consumer confidence, 95.1. This one can come in lower than forecast. Richmond Fed at 1. And Dallas Fed at -10. So, durable orders, ex-transportation, the housing numbers, yeah, they'll play. But kind of in aggregate, new home sales would be the number 2 news item. And then number 3 will be consumer confidence. So that's the way I think the news will hit. So right now we've got resistance at 24 to 28. So sell 1's 23 to 27. Sell 2's 31 to 03. On the buy side, 13 to 17 is where we are. It's going to be news driven. We're strong. It's pretty aggressive. Obviously 13's a better buy than 17. And then 5 to 9. But we're really down to the news and how that impacts the market. You got the 30-year. Going back and forth between two machines, it's just hard to keep up. The knob spread did widen over the weekend, but it's under a little pressure, actually starting in London. So the 10-year is stronger than the 30-year today. And if the market starts to sell, I think that the short play is in the bond rather than a note. Last rotate up was 28, then 31, then 01. So it's aggressive, 27 to 31. It's where resistance is. If we break through that, I think we can trade higher. So we'll make it 7 to 11 for sell 2. On the buy side, we're at 22, so 13 to 17 is where support is. And again, like the note, we'd rather get it done closer to 13. And then the buck to 04 for number 2. The number 1 points are where support and resistance are. If we take those out, the market moves well past where our number 2 levels would have been. So I'm opening up my number 2 levels by a level. So as opposed to like 1, 2, 3, we're really working 1s and 3s when you take a look at the structure. Okay, gold got whacked over the weekend. You know, the news is coming out. China has said that war is inevitable if the United States keeps meddling in their business. So they're building islands in the South China Sea to extend their territorial claims. Mother Nature isn't doing it, China, so but we're not allowed to. Yeah, it's kind of like what you do with ISIS or the militant Islamists, because they conquered a country 1,000 years ago. It's theirs in perpetuity. Whereas if we come in and take something, we got to give it back. And it's kind of like China kind of has that same mindset. We can do anything that we want, but we can call you on anything that you're doing. And China, at times has threatened to nuke Los Angeles. They say they can absorb the casualties. The United States can't. I don't think that's really where China's coming from, because the ultimate form of materialism is communism. That's all they believe are things, and they want to live the good life, so they'll push it as far as they can, and they'll keep it limited to ground wars. But they don't want to cross the Great Divide any sooner than they have to. So the nuclear threat, I think, is minimal. But that doesn't keep them from using that threat, at least in a rhetorical sense. So gold, 1200, 1202, sell 1, 5 to 7, sell 2. I do like I still think that this market's going to get bought, and lower prices encourages demand. So 85 to 90 is where I've got support right now. So the buy will be 90 to 92, and then 85 to 87. Looking at the euro just got clobbered last night. Greece came within 20 votes of of defaulting over the weekend. In Spain, the Spanish anti-austerity party has made big gains, and the importance of this is that Europe can afford to write off all of the pigs nations, but they can't afford to write off Spain and Italy. And so if Greece gets special rights and doesn't have to pay the money back, why not Spain too? And that's the problem that they have with Italy and with Spain. They can't afford to absorb that write-off. Okay, this 1960 to 75 area is where resistance is. So right now we're at 36. Obviously you got to get through 50. So 50 to say 45 to 55, sell 1. And then 65 to 75, sell 2. On the buy side, the 109 area is certainly attractive. So 109 to 910, buy 1. And then our 875 for buy 2. But if the Greece default is sooner rather than later, the cost to Europe is sooner rather than later, sell euros. Okay, looking at crude. Can find it here. Switching back and forth two machines, I'm always confused as to where the how these windows actually do lie. Okay, the market is trying to trade lower, but you can see that 58 to 59 has been pretty good support. So 59, 59 and a quarter, buy 1. That's where support is, and then 58 and a quarter, 58.50, buy 2. Mixed reports out of Yemen. Yemen crossing the Saudi border and did create casualties. I forget the name of the little ville that got hit. Saudi Arabia resumed bombing on Sana'a, if I pronounced it correctly, with civilian casualties, naturally. That's not a problem in that part of the world. They are not constrained by civilian deaths. Didn't read much out of Iran over the weekend on renewed threats to the West or anything else. But it's really, to me, it's really interesting. Here we are negotiating on a nuke deal that has really, it's fraught with risk for everybody, and it totally destabilizes and changes the dynamics in the Middle East. And they told us we're not going to be allowed to inspect any military base or the rest of it. And I mean, it's a joke. So this administration gets a piece of paper that says they've got a deal, and Iran is developing the bomb as fast as they can. And it doesn't make sense to allow that to happen. And the sanctions were working, and the first thing that were lifted or will be lifted, and giving them a $50 billion shot of aid, releasing assets. I mean, everything is done to empower Iran for a piece of paper that speeches and accolades for a day to two from a sycophantic press. It means nothing, but that's the path that we're on. Okay, we have tons of news today, and I listed all that, but durable orders, ex-transportation is the number one focus, and that's plus 0.4. And the durable orders number at minus 0.6, big swings due to aircraft and military equipment orders, and so nobody pays a lot of attention to it. FHFA and Case-Shiller plus 0.7 for FA. These numbers could actually beat it, come in higher. At plus 0.9 for Case-Shiller. Real estate prices supposedly have been very strong. New home sales. Now, the existing home sales were off. That's the driver. You can't buy a new house until you sell your old one. Plus 509. M, or 509,000. Consumer confidence, 95.1. So the ex-transportation 1, new home sales 2, consumer confidence number 3. Be how the news impacts the market, and we'll have this first one at 8:30. So that's all I have right now. At least 20 minutes to get everything going. The Fed talk of raising interest rates on Friday and over the weekend is probably a more important factor in why the market was off than the economic news. The worse the economic news, the better it is for indexes. Means the Fed can't raise interest rates, buy stocks.